Good morning, YouTube. Wanted to go on about this composter. I checked the Mantis website today, and this one, the original compost tumbler, is sold out, but they do have some of the smaller ones still available. Composting by containers is better for people in smaller areas, simply because you don't have the land to make a big pile or dig a hole in the ground. Some landlords don't like that. It's just easier, and then for people who have got some physical issues, like myself. I am about 90% wheelchair bound. So, I'm having to readjust my life and how I go about doing things. So, I'm sure everybody understands. Do what you got to do sometimes. Adjust. These composters, I really like the Mantis. I have used it before. This size, actually, although I was on a farm at the time and I had readily more access to, I could fill up the tiller a lot, or the composter, not tiller, I'm okay, a lot faster, than I can now. But, there is no law saying that I have to fill this sucker up at one time. One of the main points about this is using any kind of container, whether it be a 5-gallon bucket. You can use some of them old plastic garbage cans, that we used to have before. Well, the county here has its own that we have to use. You want to make sure it has a lid, and you want to drill drainage holes. If you use something, that you just have lying around. Keep to the same basic principles of adding completely dry materials, as well as your materials that have moisture in them. You will have to turn it by hand, you can either roll it on the ground, as some composters out there are. You just turn it. I myself do not like those varieties. My father had got one. I don't know how well you can see. The sun's right in my eyes. Over here is another container composter. It's a kind of a combination of a container composter and a pit composter, because there is no bottom to that one over there. And I did not know that until the raccoons broke into it. What a surprise, and what a mess. But these containers, you can fill them up to where you can manage turning it. You don't just keep piling the stuff on it and on it and on it and on it like you would a compost pile, or filling up a pit, which you don't have to turn, but you do have to cover, the compost fillings up with the sand, as we discussed in pit composting. There is, you will see liquid dripping from the compost. I don't know how well you can see, but you can tell that the grass, where the drip line is from the composter, is kind of dying. There's a good reason for this. The liquid coming from this composter is not compost tea. I repeat, this is not compost tea. Some people save it. I do not recommend doing this. Actually, if you have cats and dogs and you do decide to get a composter such as this one, make sure you go out every day, especially if you have your, cats and dogs that roam your property, and make sure to water down the area where the composter is dripping, because it is toxic. This is juice from decomposing materials, people. That is not good. That has all the bad bacteria is leaking out of this composter to try to keep in all the good. So you do not want to use that liquid. If you are brave and think you can water it down, because it is very, very potent coming out like that. I so got to remember to bring out a bottle of hand sanitizer when I'm out here messing with this thing. It's just best not to use it, because there's just so many things. There's so many pathogens and bad bacteria that just has the potential to make you and your pet sick. I will go into how to make composting tea. There is a quick method, which I highly suggest, because the fresher it is, the better it is. I will do a quick explanation on how to make larger vats of composting tea. But, you know, unless you've got a lot of land that you're going to be spraying, it's really not good. You know, the fresher the compost tea is, the more nutritious it is for your plants. And we will get into that at another point in time. This here is a compost thermometer. See how long it is? It's about, I say judging by side, it's about maybe 14, 16 inches long. And this is one of the accessories that you can get with the compost tumbler. And this just, you know, gauges how hot your compost is. You know, while I have everybody on here, I am going to go ahead, before it gets so incredibly hot out here, stick this in and see where we're going with the heat. Okay, that's heating up pretty good, considering I just turned it and added some fresh stuff to it. It is about 92. So it is starting to heat up. Now, I don't know if I mentioned it in the other videos, but compost does not have to be out in the full sun. You can have it in the shade. And as a matter of fact, many people suggest that when you are doing a compost pile, that you cover it up with burlap that has been wetted down. I never did, because let's be honest with one another, you are not ever going to have a weed-free garden. It's just not impossible, and do it organically. It's just not. You can keep the weeds under control, but eventually you will have a weed to pull. Let's get real. Okay, that is about all I can think to talk about composting by containers. It is making my life easier, not having to go out here and turn a compost pile. As you can see, the flies are attracted to it, because I just put some household items into the compost. But, you know, eventually they will go away. It's the smell of the decomposition, even though the odor that I'm getting by sitting, maybe a foot from the device, is not overpowering. And this is what you want. So I will end this for now. The final composting method in this series will be earthworm composting. I want to give that all the credit it deserves, because earthworms are so important, and they are a much, much overlooked commodity. And I will see y'all later. Like, share, and subscribe.